We are back, Kyle, with headphones this time. The City Life podcast in the newly renovated THPN studio.
Looking pretty nice, isn't it?
Not only are we recording in the new renovated THPN studio, we actually have our first guest on the podcast here and a fellow YouTuber as well. I mean, I shouldn't say fellow. He's the veteran. He's the pro. He's a friend of Kyle's, actually. So I'll let Kyle introduce him here on episode 3 of the City Life podcast.
Well, I'd like to welcome Jahromi Dirom. He's a local Calgary photographer, YouTuber, as Isha said, local band enthusiast and cyclist, many, many things. So welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thanks for your time, man.
So we have a few things we want to get into, but first, like right off the bat, like I was telling JD in his Twitter DMs, yes, I slid into his DMs. I was telling him how much of a fan I was of his YouTube channel, not only because, like, look, I started cycling, I'm a music buff, but just that it's diverse. JD, what inspired you to start a YouTube channel, and why did you go the route of not sticking to something, just niche in one lane, like the reaction videos to get the views, or unboxing of maybe bike gear and cyclist gear, stuff like that, or kind of like what we're doing, just the vlogging route? I mean, what was your inspiration for your YouTube channel and like that diverse aspect you bring to it?
I mean, I don't think you guys are one-dimensional guys. Like, you're not just podcasters, you're not just hockey buffs. Everybody's multiple things. And I think, that's one of the shortcomings of YouTube is a lot of people do feel that they have to pigeonhole themselves into one very specific genre and focus on that. And I don't know about you guys, but, as you live your life, things change, and your projects change, and what you do changes, your interests change, things come up, people come into your life, and it's just to me that's life. It's a more realistic look at my life in a sense. I'm doing what I want to do, and that's the other part of it is I don't feel trapped by my YouTube channel. And if you've been part of the YouTube space or any creator space for any amount of time, you will often hear things like creator burnout or creator stress, and guys basically, because they are doing one specific thing and they feel that they have to deliver that topic week after week to their audience, that they eventually get burnt out, and you'll see guys disappear completely because they don't like their space. We were just talking before we came on air here. I had a podcast before. It was Lloyd and JD, and, Lloyd's life situation changed, and, I didn't want to do the podcast without him. So, podcast got dropped. If things change in his life again, his kids start going to school and, he has more time, and, it may get revamped, but essentially it allows, a lot more diversity. Right. So that's why, it's, I think that a lot of people get hyper focused because that's what they're told you have to do. And, it's not really being creative. If you ask me, it's you're limiting yourself. You're not exploring what you can do as a whole. If you look at guys like, let's say Joe Rogan, right? He's got a podcast. Look at all the things that Joe Rogan did before he was a podcaster.
Pretty cool life that guy lives.
Yeah, it's people are multidimensional. They have multiple interests, and some things people may line up. They might like cycling, they might like photography, they might not like some of the other things I do. But that's just me, man. It's
well, you can take your pick, right? And it's really cool to see what other people are doing. I love the whole aspect of YouTube and vlogging because, like, at least in our case, we feel like we're not pigeonholed, even though we want to be mainly a music channel. We're just giving people a glimpse into our everyday lives. Like, we may be local musicians and nobody super important, for lack of a better term, but
get us to 100 subs. Come on.
Yeah. But I think it's cool to see your friends expand and grow within their own lives, and to keep up to date with what they're doing. And if our YouTube, if that's the only thing that it does, I'm stoked. People can come check out what we're up to on Vancouver Island. you know?
What's really cool about it is it's for creators anyways. And I don't know if you found this, JD. I mean, I run the Hockey Podcast Network's YouTube channel as well, which was just monetized. And so we're posting on like the community board, and it actually is pretty pigeonholed, that one, funny enough. But with that now, connecting with more people, both on the fan side, but other creators, I found that it's a very interesting social media in itself for, it from the creator's lens versus, what I use YouTube for, kind of like Netflix after hard days of work, watching my favorite channels or reviews on this, or, a how-to on a new product. For creators, it's kind of its new cool social media, in that, like, when I'm commenting on people's things now, like, I'm actually getting an interaction with them. And that's something that I feel like YouTube in its early stages wasn't really at all. Do you feel that way?
You have to interact with your audience. You have to, you have to talk to people. If people are leaving comments, I mean, one of the big things, if you are a creator starting out, is that you need to drive that interaction. If somebody comments on your video, good, bad, or indifferent, you really have to respond to that person, because that's what makes you accessible. That's, a big part of YouTube, of course, is the you part. People have to like you. People have to, relate to you on some level in order for them to come back week after week. And that, it doesn't matter what you're doing, really, whether you're vlogging, making music, doing photography, it doesn't matter. People, need to connect to you on some sort of personal level. And, some of those activities might be that thing. But if you're a disingenuous person, or, you're brash and stuff like that, you're still going to get fans, because there's a fan base for everybody.
Right.
But you really do need those interactions and those connections. And YouTube's always been great for it. I've always found it, that whether it's, from other socials coming into there, or, basically, Instagram or Twitter. But YouTube is also an active community, and they've sort of built that up more. Things like the community tab that have come in over time have definitely helped that community sense on YouTube as a whole.
It's really actually super cool to watch pages grow. Like I've been following this page, Life Uncontained, for quite some time. Like, I'm all about the tiny home movement and all that kind of thing. Like, my wife and I live in a fifth wheel trailer as we're saving up for a house, so that whole lifestyle is kind of in our zone. And anyway, watching this couple grow over like the last 3 or 4 years, building up their shipping container home, it's just been like super neat. I have no ties to these people whatsoever, but I feel like I'm like included in their life.
You feel like you know them.
Yeah,
you'll feel like you know them. It's crazy how open some people are with their lives. Like, it's a complete open book, and especially in the vlogging sphere. And like you said,
absolutely.
tiny homes, or van lifers. There's a lot of that stuff going on there. And these people lead very, very interesting lives. And it's I would say, in a lot of ways, it's so much better than reality TV, because it's not overproduced.
Absolutely.
It's got that genuine aspect to it.
Everyone has a cell phone now too, so you actually get the real-time reactions. And even if it's scripted or not, it can fool us all, because it looks like it's real, because like you said, it's not as highly produced as television.
Yeah.
Well, this is obviously amazing, JD. And look, like we're a few minutes in already, and I feel like if we actually sat down here without the nice Sony cameras that might, overheat in front of us, that we could literally podcast for hours and hours, which is great, and it's incentive to keep bringing you back on the show for more hits. But as you saw on our YouTube channel, and as everyone who has subscribed to our YouTube channel knows, we like to do these like quicker podcast hits. So Kyle actually has some questions that he wanted to ask you, and I think it's actually there's some great questions for you right away, because it's kind of a taste into what you do in a little. And obviously, if people subscribe to your channel, and I encourage everyone to do so, they'll see all the the diverse life that is yours. But this will at least give them a taste to want to come back and see more of your hits on our channel and explore your channel as well. So Kyle, I'll leave it to you, my friend.
Well, anybody that knows JD knows that he does a lot of concert photography, big bands that come through, local acts. He's done photography for my old band, Silent Army. I'm pretty sure he's even been out to Trench Finger shows. So I would just like to ask you kind of how you fell into that. How did you get to the point where you're taken photos and images for large scale bands, small scale bands, and where you plan to go with that in the future?
It's interesting because it's been very much a pause for 2 years. So I don't really have a good answer for that. This, to be honest, may even be a pivot point for me, but how I got into it was actually a pivot. I mountain biked. I did a lot of free ride mountain biking. I used to go to all the Red Bull Rampage events and all that crazy stuff. So, kind of an OG time there, I'd hang out with, friends like Steve Romaniak, Steve Twinski, Cedric Gracia, Josh Bender, anybody that's been in mountain biking will know these guys
like I said, we could talk for 2 fucking hours. I mean, I shattered my ankle 2 years ago mountain biking. Haven't ripped the trail since, but like I'm swooning at some of these names. So please continue. But yeah, again, incentive to bring JD back on the podcast. Yeah. Holy shit.
So I had a bad accident. I fell from a cross face of a mountain. I fell 75 feet, hit a tree, got airlifted off the side, messed me up. I didn't fall the full 150 feet. So that was cool. But severe concussion, wrecked my hips. And, it just made it difficult because I couldn't ride like I once ride.
Yeah.
And, a lot of times in my own films and a lot of the stuff I was doing, they would have action cams and, it wasn't a GoPro back in the day. You would wear a backpack with a recording camera and a tape, and then they would run wires to your helmet and then you would ride. So when these guys were doing their runs, we would go and we would, follow, and these guys are nuts, and sometimes I tell you it's the scariest stuff in the world, but having the accident stopped me from being able to do that, as well as anybody that does downhill and free ride mountain biking know that really you're riding the trails as well, because you can't walk these damn things. They're just too steep. So I had to pivot. I looked to music. My cousin was on the same label as Oasis. So I started looking into that, and he was in a band called the Diggers. They never made it because they never made their way from to BBC on the BBC radio. I'm from the UK, and I immigrated to Canada a long time ago, but they never quite made it. They were on the same label as Oasis. I started asking some questions, and then kind of caught my break with basically Matt Good. Who was in town and, managed to get in there, and it just sort of went from there. I mean, I'd been taking photographs. I'd been doing sports for a very long time. So I knew how to work a camera, and it just kind of went from there. And I mean, I've photographed everybody from, if you're looking like for Canadiana bands, like, Default, the Tragically Hip, all these kind of guys, and then of course I love metal. So, I've worked with guys like Slayer. It's been great. If you look at my Twitter, you'll see a lot of the bands that I've actually photographed and worked with and all that kind of stuff, or go to my website and
you have quite the resume.
yeah. It's but like I said, again, it's we're not one-dimensional people, man. Like you've got to pivot and things go. And for the last 2 years, there's been no concerts. So
what have you done to inspire yourself over the last 2 years? Being
I focused on getting back into to rehabbing. To get to a point where I could ride aggressively again. I was getting there, and then I tore my back at Christmas.
Oh no!
So I tore my piriformis. So I'm back. Kind of, it's messed up my hip and back. I'm still riding. I mean, I still ride probably like 200 kilometers a week, but it's not the most graceful riding in the world. So I just sort of putting in time. But yeah, utilize the the YouTube channel for that. I mean, I know cycling. I've done it for a long time. I've done mountain biking, so it's just unboxing videos and how tos and all that kind of stuff. It's it feeds the space, and just keep on kind of going. So it's just one of those pivots. As far as music goes, things will probably maybe kick off here in the next few months. But again, it depends, because a lot of people that I know that were in the music business as a whole, that were there as publicists and PR guys for these guys that I have, good relationships with. They all went on to different things because
Right.
they all had to pay their bills too. It's
Forced to change.
Beyond, the artists and not having shows. I mean, there's a huge blowback from that, from everybody, from the guy that runs security at the shows to the sound guys to the guys that do all the setup, all the roadies, all these people, were deeply affected by what sort of happened over the last 2 years. And it's starting to come back now. I see a lot more local shows now, which is good. Concerts are starting to get announced. Will that stay? I mean, that's anybody's guess. It's been anybody's guess for the last 2 years. So
yeah, it has been pretty hit or miss.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure my phone will start ringing when people start needing stuff, because that's usually how it works. Stampede is probably when I'll find out whether or not I really have to pivot or not. So
right.
No, absolutely. Well, again, JD, we kind of keep these, short form. In my day job, we do the long form podcast. That's why Kyle and I like to keep things, short and sweet here. But it was an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Again, first of many appearances. We hope, especially with all the conversation pieces we could go down the road with. Just starting with Matthew Good as our first official Lost podcast episode. Kyle was on Matthew Good, so
Yes.
maybe we'll revisit that topic with you here down the road. Before we let you go, though, I mean, plug away again your YouTube channel and your Twitter account, my friend.
You can find me. All my socials are attached to Pain Inc., which of course came from the mountain biking stuff, or J Dirom, Dirom. You can find me on YouTube. That's my usual haunt. And just slide into my DMs. Everybody does. So, and I'm there. I'm an accessible guy. So
no, he's an absolute beauty. Get used to his face. You'll see it again here on the channel. Subscribe to his channel. Kyle, where can they find you on Twitter?
Kyle Mudge 1.
There you go. At VI Sports Talk for me. That's a wrap. Until next time, we say peace.